on live hiphopdaily.tv. And this episode is sponsored by. Ooh, oh my God, it's got tongue tied. I'm sorry. This episode is sponsored by Canago. Canago, shout out to Canago, the delivery buds. Order from local shops to get their best THC-free CBD consumables, Delta 8, non-medicated skin products, cosmetics, essential oils, smoking products, and more right to your doorstep. In partnership with Canago, this month all the listeners of our show can receive $10 off their first order when you use promo code CashColor10. So download their app on iOS and head to their website, trycanago.com, and see what they have for you. Let's go, buds. I got close. I'm supposed to be less B buzz. I'm getting better, man. Again, muscle memory, bro. I'm getting better at doing my script. It is, like I said, this is Cash Color Canvas. This is a high level of conversation. I am your host tonight. My name is Mecca King, and I have a great guest in the building. This is actually the first time I actually met her. I seen you online like a billion, zillion times. I didn't even know who the face was behind this brand. But I get a chance to have a conversation with her today, and we're going to talk about her brand and how she jumped from being a pharmacist to getting into the cannabis space. Georgia's medical marijuana program may talk about some reality TV. I don't know. Let's see where this conversation goes. But without further ado, thank you for my guest, Cassandray Gosa.
Hi, Mecca. Thanks for having me.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for being patient with me. Thank you for coming in early and having this whole conversation before the podcast. Like, we really had a good day, man. But I know this is your first time on the show, and being that it's first time on the show, I'd love for you to introduce yourself to our listeners and just tell them what you do.
Okay, my name is Cassandray Gosa. I am a licensed pharmacist in the state of Georgia. I'm a community pharmacist, and I also have my own company. It's called Chirp RX. It's a telehealth company where pharmacists provide cannabis consultations to cannabis consumers and patients. So I have a double hat that I carry. I'm in the retail pharmacy space, but I'm also in the cannabis space as well.
All right. I hear a little accent, and that's not Atlanta accent. Where you from?
That's that good old Alabama accent. I'm from Huntsville, Alabama. Graduated from Alabama A&M University, so go Bulldogs.
All right, go Bulldogs. I was telling you off air, I do have ties in Alabama. My mother's whole entire side of the family's from Alabama. My brother currently lives in Huntsville. My nephew went to Alabama State.
Yeah.
Yeah, we ain't gonna boo that. And my brother even went to Alabama A&M. I have Alabama in me. Like, I've been going to Alabama since I can remember, about 5 years old.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
man, I love it, man. We used to have they still own it, but it was a big farm out in Camden, and it was such a shock to me because I'm from Boston, so growing up in the city, that they will plop you in this farm. You know how parents do once a year because you got to go back.
You're expected to do work.
Oh,
like,
work, girl. Let me tell you what work was. They didn't have indoor plumbing. You know what work is? Going to the well to get water to flush. That's work.
Yeah,
That's
we
work.
had my granddad had pecan trees. He had a pecan tree field, and so I was too small to do work building the house, building onto the house like my older brothers. So I would be out in the pecan field picking pecans.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
I used to pick peas.
Oh wow.
And that was actually fun to me because I used to like snapping them. But I used to do that, and I used to scare chickens. Like that
Oh,
was my whole
wow.
thing during the summer. Until I realized chickens will chase you.
They will.
A chicken will chase you, and chickens are fast.
They are.
Oh, I didn't realize that when I was little. You talking about little legs trying to move? This chicken was. I thought chickens. I didn't know if it was gonna fly or not. 'Cause, they start moving them wings.
They
Chicken
just
was
moved
out.
fast. They weren't going anywhere.
Nah, man. So Alabama's definitely a place that is close to my heart. I love Bama.
Right next door. Yep.
Yeah, what was it like growing up down there?
It's pretty similar to Georgia. You have your main arteries, your main cities, and then it gets, more rural as you get outside of those main cities.
Yeah, but you was in the NASA city because I remember going to the museum when I was a kid.
Yep, the big old rocket you see when you pulling into the city. A&M, it's a lot of engineers, scientists, computer scientists in the city. So really science-based city.
And now, is that something that kind of sparked you to being a pharmacist? Because being a pharmacist isn't something I know people just tell me this is what I want to be. Like,
And it really, how I got here is like this long winding road because my degree is in biology. I moved to Atlanta and I worked as a chemist in a battery company. Decided to go back to school and got my master's in public health. And while I was there, I kind of decided, what I wanted my career to look like, what I wanted to do. And I have several friends and family members that are pharmacists as well. And it just seemed like the natural progression for me to become a pharmacist. So I went ahead and went on to pharmacy school.
Ooh, that's a lot of work, though.
It's a lot. I don't recommend all of that school to anybody. It was a lot.
Child, yeah, because being a biology major is a lot.
It's a lot. But it's that love of the body and all of that that got me here today.
So was it just being tired of school that made you say, I don't want to be a doctor?
So it's really not. There's so many different areas of healthcare that you can go into. You shouldn't be limited to just saying I want to be a doctor. There's so many different areas that you can go into. Yeah.
We just found that out. I mean, now we didn't just find it out. Y'all should know that. There's plenty of other areas. Everybody don't got to be Heathcliff Huxtable.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like everybody don't got to be that.
Yeah. He needed help too. He needed a nurse. He needed somebody to draw the blood. You know.
Yeah.
It's different areas you can go into.
Yeah. So, but eventually you did find yourself into the business of cannabis. How did you? Well, first, before you even get into the business part, when was the first time you actually discovered cannabis?
It was just really, and I think all of us are similar in this aspect that we know or have family that's in the underground market. And so my experience with cannabis is very limited. But as you see more states start to legalize it, and they say that it's medical, you start to question, well, what's going on? You know, it's legal in all of these states now. Why are we still getting this negative aspect of cannabis? So I started to do my own research, look behind it, and I said, no, there are benefits to this plant. And so I just needed to do my own research. I decided that, hey, I wanted my pharmacy career to be rooted in cannabis. So that's how I kind of got here.
All right, and also I don't know any family members who are ever worked on the underground. I'm giving a big wink. I don't know none of my family members who ever been.
Even if it's not your family, you know somebody. Come on.
Of course. But even growing up, I'm pretty sure you was aware what the plant was and you was around it. Have you ever been tempted to actually consume yourself?
Like I said, as I've done more research and gotten more information about the plant, it's definitely something that can be utilized for or by people. It's not necessarily for everybody.
Yeah.
There are some cannabinoids that I have used that have been beneficial for me. But like I said, everybody doesn't have to always consume every part of the plant. And I live in Georgia. It's not legal here.
Yeah.
But
disclaimer. Disclaimer.
But like I said, there are other cannabinoids that can work and are available for people to use that are legal.
Awesome. So, but the transition couldn't have been super simple. You're talking about going from being a pharmacist in a traditional job to coming over to a space that's, like you said, this states is going legal, but federally we're nowhere close to that.
Federally, it's just not moving.
No.
I think the most recent thing that we had done federally was the signing into law about cannabis research.
Yeah.
And I did want to mention that because as more clinical trials start to open up, we do need to be more mindful of being part of those clinical trials when we do see them. They're probably going to start doing a lot of things with our veterans. Our veterans need to go ahead and sign up for those clinical trials. I know that sounds scary.
That's what I was about to say.
But that's the data that we need in order to say, yes, we want this plant available to everybody. We need people that are in these clinical trials that say, yes, it works. It's
crazy because I asked you one question, you jumped to a whole nother question, but I like that question. It's going to be hard. You're talking about from veterans, especially black people, to get them into a clinical study, that's going to be a push.
It is. But I think as you get more healthcare professionals that are putting their stamp of approval on the plant and are encouraging people to get out there and to do more clinical trials, people that look like them, I think that will help them to get more.
And then also we're talking about weed. So it's not like COVID vaccine. Like, you know what I mean? Like I don't feel like it's going to be that big of an argument, but you're definitely going to have people on the other side saying that it's still the government and they're still asking you, this can't be, you know what I mean? Like it's going to be levels of
it's going to be levels,
happening.
But it's a balance of it. You know what I'm saying? As we move cannabis into the legal field, as we want it to become federally legal, there's some push and pull that we're going to have to do in order to get this plant available to everybody.
Yeah, and go back to my original question. Was it a hard transition to go from what you were doing as a pharmacist into this space that you're at now?
So, not necessarily. There are some cannabis products that are available in your traditional pharmacies. And so people will come and ask about those products. And so we have to learn about those as well.
Okay.
Also, there are some federal or FDA approved medications that are available that we do dispense to patients that we have to know about so that we can educate our patients as well. Epidiolex is one. Dronabinol is another. So those are FDA approved medications that we do dispense to patients regularly.
Okay. But so, what was the reaction from some of your colleagues when you said that, I'm a start looking more into this side of the business? Like, were they as shocked? Was there any pushback from your friends?
No, I wouldn't say that. They're more so, they have more questions. Like, how did you decide to do this?
Like I did.
I had,
Yeah,
and it was really me making a conscious decision to go into cannabis. And so they want to know, how does it work? Is this something I can use for my patients? I can recommend to my patients. And so I find that they're not necessarily hesitant to knowing about it. They're more inquisitive. They want to know a little bit more about it. Like I said, we're putting our stamp of approval on cannabis, and it's gonna be well known. People are gonna start accepting it. And so, I think as people like me start saying, "Hey, it's okay. You recommend this to your patients," then it'll start spreading, and it'll start more medical professionals will start accepting cannabis.
And the company that you started, Chirp RX, is actually a good way to start getting that stamp out. Like what you do is, well, I'll let you explain this. Explain what Chirp first off, how Chirp RX came to life, and what's its overall goal as far as a business. What does it do?
Right. So Chirp RX is really just a blend of my educational background and my career goals. Like I said, I have my degree in biology and public health, and now I'm a pharmacist. And so how do I best put all of those things together and make a career out of it? And so even though I'm in the traditional sense, in the retail setting, I realized that the aspect of a pharmacist that you get in a retail setting was not available in a dispensary. You could go into a dispensary and they could show you product and recommend product. But if you're going in for something like pain, they can't really say, we'll take 2.5 milligrams of this gummy and we'll see how it works for your pain, and then your pain is resolved. They really don't have that nugget in the dispensary. And so I knew that I could put my services as a pharmacist in the dispensary and counsel patients. I'm looking for drug interactions with other supplements. I'm looking to make sure that you're not on duplicate medications. And I'm looking to make sure that, like I said, you're getting those health outcomes that you're looking for with the amount of cannabis that you could potentially be using.
What's a typical patient like who comes to Chirp RX?
So I get a whole bunch of different patients. I get cancer patients. I get patients who have difficulty sleeping. I have patients who are diabetic, who are having pain with their legs. They have restless leg syndrome, or they have neuropathy in their legs. So it's really a wide range of patients that I'll see. And then there are people that aren't necessarily patients, but they're looking for guidance about a specific thing. So like I said, it could be from a person that's been using cannabis for years, or a little grandma who has no experience. And so I'm able to guide those people.
How many times does somebody call you trying to get a medical card?
All the time. And I've had a lot of people even reach out on social media about medical cards, and the process right now is kind of hidden in Georgia. I hope as we start getting the program going here, that process will become more visible and it'll be accessible to patients. They won't have to guess about what they need to do.
So with your job though, being that is it's not physical, it's virtual for the most part. Is it easier for you to do? You know, because you're not pigeonholed to simply just working in Georgia. That's what I'm trying to get to. You're not pigeonholed to just working here. You have the ability to touch somebody in California, touch somebody in New York, all in the span of minutes, probably. Is it easier for you, or do you feel like it's harder for you to kind of pull this
I
off?
feel like it's something that I'm already doing anyway. It's not difficult. I think that, like I said, I don't necessarily have to have the physical product. I know what the products are, and so I can guide you on what you need as far as products.
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily focused on brands. I'm actually focused on the product themselves, and I can guide anybody anywhere on what they need to do based off of their medical history, based off the medications that they take currently, what their healthcare goals are, and where they're trying to be.
You know, I didn't even think about that. That you don't speak from a brand specific point of view. You don't tell people to go to this certain spot. But I'm like, how far are we down the road from when we do have pharmacists or do have businesses like yours that are sponsored by somebody? You know what I mean? Like
And that's
sponsored
scary,
by
right?
cookies. Yeah.
That's scary because you don't want to necessarily be tied to a brand. You want to present this as medicine.
Yeah.
And so I don't see myself doing that. I'm not saying it's wrong if people decide to do that.
I feel like that's so tricky because then you get into the whole issue that we've already seen in the medical field where certain doctors were pushing you towards specific medicine. Yeah, maybe it had nothing to do with your life, but we was getting a check from that. It comes to a tricky situation.
Yeah, and they saw the effects of that, and they've kind of had to pull back from that. So, the cannabis industry is loosely based on the pharmacy industry. And so there are things that we're going to have to check ourselves on ethically as we move forward.
Yeah, I'm more shocked that the pharmaceutical industry wasn't like more upset when you came over here. Like they weren't throwing pills at you like boo. You know what I'm saying? Like you're supposed to be down over here.
Well, these are my opinions, so they can throw pills all day.
So again, but your platform is so unique because you don't necessarily have to be in Georgia or even serve people in Georgia in order to survive. But you do live here, so you have to be very aware of what's going on in Georgia when it comes to the MMJ program and the slow progress that it has made. What are your feelings on the Georgia MMJ project?
It
program,
is pretty much non-existent right now. I think the laws passed back in 15. I want to say, and patients still don't have legal access to their medications, and so it's supposed to move this year. Fingers crossed, but we're so behind from where we should be. It's gonna be a process.
I'm all for championing small wins because small wins turn to big wins. And this is why I consider this because I mean, it's really hard to sell me on anything else. It's a small win. I'm praying that it turns into other things because especially after doing this show, we've been doing this show for 7 years now. I fully understand why people need this and who are trying to supply it. Like it's good to see this business grow in the state, but I'm so... I'd be so scared every day because I'm like, I don't know, like you just mentioned, I really don't know what's going on. And it's not so much he's not at the state capitol every day. It's like literally, y'all don't know either. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Like, you know as much as I do.
And you can see how the political process, how slow it is.
Yeah, it's that part.
And it's just like, what are we doing here? People need this medication. And it's just like all the red tape that we have to get through. And so... even though it's going to be or has been a slow process, once it gets here, I think things will start to move a little quickly.
And we had that conversation briefly off air that it's and I've heard this before from plenty of friends of mine. Shout out to my boy Chris Brown. You got to get started first before, you know what I'm saying, to get through all these the little problems so you can get to the better situation. Because right now I feel like the biggest problem is the negotiation point somehow got y'all to 0.5 THC, which I want to know where the starting point was that y'all dropped it to there.
I don't know. It had to have been some random number because I don't believe that I've seen that percentage or concentration in any other state that has
Exactly.
legalized.
Nobody
So
starts at 10 and says, all right, we'll go down
I
to point
haven't
five. So where did
seen
y'all start? Was it 1?
I haven't seen the studies that say that, but if anybody out there knows it, you can email
That's
it to me.
that's
so
a
that
room
can
I
see.
wish I could have been in. Like the day that y'all decided, what was the negotiation process to get to where you at? Because that's such a ridiculous number to even say out loud. But
But I also say watch that space because I think a lot of legislations have been presenting concentration limits. I'm not, I can't remember what state it was, but I think as we move into this potential federalization, that concentration may be that line. So just pay attention to that.
I thought, again, we had this conversation off air. One thing that you made a good point about, and I totally agree with, is once they do start opening up and you're able to actually go into a store, well, this also means a whole nother question about how you even get a doctor to give you one. But once you're able to go into a store and be able to purchase what you want to purchase, people are going to eventually realize that 0.5% isn't enough and going to want to start demanding more, which is actually a good thing. So
That's a good thing
yeah, that's a
because
good thing.
you're going to get people because they're going to start putting that on the ballot. You know, should we and yeah, you need to get out there and vote for that.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. Also, there's another tricky piece to this puzzle: getting a doctor's recommendation. Because who the hell are these doctors?
Who are the doctors?
Like these are so many questions I can't believe. Yeah. So who the hell are these doctors?
That is another difficult thing. I've had some recent health issues in trying to get find somebody that will say, hey, this is what you got going on, and yes, cannabis could be for you. You can get your medical card. Like, where is that doctor?
Yeah.
I haven't found it. There's a few websites, I believe, in Georgia that list different doctors. I don't know how accurate that doctor list is. And then there was a meeting a few weeks ago where a few physicians were meeting with True Leave about the Georgia medical program. And so maybe they will be updating that list. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess we just have to wait and see.
Yeah. Are you comfortable with some of the names that have been released that will be able to kind of get a head start in this program, such as True Leave?
I think that they have been awarded the the production licenses, and so it's okay if that's what it takes to get the ball rolling.
Again,
then
let's just get it started. I guess that's what we are. Just
that's
get
fine
started.
with me. I don't know if I like their stamp of approval on everything because you see True Leave everywhere.
I was gonna say
space.
Plus they got their own issues, so it's almost like
they got their own
yeah.
stuff going on down
Yeah.
there in Florida. So
Yeah,
like I said.
can't necessarily hide from it. They got their own issues. You know what I'm saying? So if you're talking about stamping everything, now people are gonna possibly question that. Yeah.
Question them. We'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah.
But like I said, anything that gets this ball rolling right now is definitely what we need in Georgia.
Yeah, we definitely enter the multiverse when it comes to this. So if you had a chance to kind of redo some things and you had a chance to be in those rooms and make those kind of decisions, what do you feel like you would do differently?
Like we said earlier, like where did the percentage come from for the concentration? Did y'all have any pharmacists or doctors in the room that okayed that? And then all of the red tape. I think maybe what we miss is if a state is already up and running and their program has aged well, just copy and paste what they're doing. You don't necessarily have to start from scratch. I think that's what a lot of states got wrong. And so potentially just copy and pasting what somebody else already had so we can get this thing moving quicker.
It's also paying attention because you got to figure out which state has done it, which you would feel correctly. Because if that's the case, we could also apply that to social equity, and we're still struggling to find a state that you could copy and paste. You know what I mean?
Right.
Where that just works, so we can just use this somewhere else.
Yeah, because they allocated these funds for different social programs in the cannabis industry, and you see the struggle that those people are still having. So, yeah.
You know, it's very important to have mentorship. Like I think about the mentors I've had in my life every day. Especially when I be on social media and I hear people say certain things, I'm like, damn, I'm glad I had. You know what I'm saying? Like so many people in my life who was able to tell me stuff when I was young. But it really means something in business. Do you find yourself being tapped for mentorship as we in this space? Because I'm pretty sure there's other people who are kind of probably tugging at your coattails now.
Well,
Asking, how can I get into the business?
Yeah, I have had several people that have reached out to me, and we've met and talked about what they want their careers to be. Not just pharmacists, different healthcare professionals. I haven't really had students reach out to me, but I'm available to give whatever information I have available. I'm not trying to hide this or keep it to myself so I can become a billionaire.
Yeah.
I want this information to get out because the bottom line is the patient is a cannabis consumer, to make sure that they have access to cannabis, and the only way we can do that is to spread the word, to bring more people under our wing, so that people have access to it, have access to this information. Education is so important as well. So like I said, I haven't had many people reach out to me, but I am available.
What about vice versa? Like, has it been hard for you to kind of pull at certain medical professionals who are in the space and say, hey, I kind of need your guidance?
Yeah, well, even so in pharmacy school, you do 3 years in class, and then your last year, you're doing rotations actually out in the field. And I knew I wanted my career to be in cannabis, so I had to actually look for a rotation where I could satisfy my credits for school, but I also wanted to be able to shape my career in the way that I wanted it to go. And I was able to find a dispensary in Chicago that was actually a pharmacist-led dispensary. And so I spent about 6 weeks there just learning the ropes of the dispensary because I had no clue. That was actually my first experience inside of a dispensary. But the pharmacists were great. They knew all of the stuff. They had a botanist there. Like, she knew all the stuff. Like, I learned so much. But it took so long to find them. Like, to actually find pharmacists that were teaching about cannabis.
Yep.
So it shouldn't be that difficult. But like I said, I was able to find it because I sought it out. But I think that the education aspect of cannabis needs to be readily available. And as more medical professionals come into the fold, they also need to have that education piece available as well.
You know, when I started doing CashColorCannabis, I had somebody who was a legend to me. His name is Reggie Osei. I had a chance to interview Reggie, and one thing that Reggie said to me when I asked him the question about why are we not seeing more cannabis journalists at publications like The Source, like XXL, trying to cover this new industry, he said because they haven't grown any. Matter of fact, he said at your point, he said where you're at right now, you'll probably cultivate more of that than they could because of where you are. Do you feel like we need to see more medical professionals and pharmacists who are currently involved in cannabis start really planting those seeds so they can cultivate the next generation of cannabis pharmacists and medical professionals so it's not so hard to find?
Yes. Yes, the answer is yes to that. Because as I've gone to the different events, you know, the different MJ BizCon and all those big events, it seems like we're sort of talking to ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
And they get redundant after a while. We need to tap into spaces that are not just us, people in the cannabis space. We need to go to these, you know, mom and pop shops, or we need to go to these small doctor practices and tell them about this medication so that we can start bringing more people into the fold.
Or also, let's go into HBCUs because, like you,
Right.
Alabama A&M,
Yes.
we have Meharry out here, part of Morehouse. You know what I mean? We also have as far as I'm concerned, any agricultural or technical school
We
that
need to
has,
be growing.
you need to be in it. If you have
We
those
need to be
two
growing
letters
it.
in your name, you should be at the head
We
of the
should
game
be
here.
ahead. And so you have like schools like Southern that are doing things
Yes,
in the cannabis
yes,
space. You have the Fort Valley that was awarded one of the research licenses here. And so I believe that it's moving slowly.
Yes.
But it will happen. But I feel like if you're at HBCU, you have those land grants, you're growing stuff, you need to be growing hemp.
And there's schools that are actually teaching courses. Like even Clark Atlanta has a cannabis course. You know what I mean?
That's
like
awesome.
yeah, you're getting there. Shout out to Mega Evers out in New York. Like there are schools that are trying to teach this. But I feel like, and I think I had this conversation with Dr. Hodge before about how hard it is to actually get that kind of curriculum into a medical school.
And it's gonna be difficult until it's federally legal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because even when I learned about cannabis in school, it was from a negative connotation, from the drug war aspect. So I had to turn that negative into a positive. It still worked, but yeah, it's gonna take a lot of people to get cannabis in the space of this is acceptable.
How happy were you to get your coat when you became a pharmacist?
It was not as exciting as most people think it is. I honestly don't even wear my coat most days just because it's hot.
I feel you. She'd have to take it off occasionally. I'd wear it every day. But...
That's what most people say, but like I said, it gets hot.
And some do. Like you can tell because nobody else would just walk around with a jacket like that on. You could tell when they be in the grocery stores and stuff. Like people be out there like flexing.
And then like you gotta think about, I'm putting makeup on in this white coat. They get dingy quick. So yeah.
So another conversation we was having off air is we were talking about reality shows, and you was telling me about a reality show that you were still kind of confused about that's from Huntsville. But what do you do when you're not being a pharmacist and you're not knee deep in cannabis research and such?
So what do I like to do? So I've always had an interest in complementary medications, alternative medications, and so I've really been getting into like different herbs, trying to learn about those and how I can use those as medicine as well.
Oh, you're a real nerd. Like how many people?
I really am.
How many people like my hobby is more of my job?
I mean, it's an extension of myself, and so like yoga, I love doing that, and learning all those aspects of it. And I was with on a panel the other month, and they were talking about how yoga can activate the endocannabinoid system, and I was just like, wow. So I definitely want that stuff excites me.
Girl, you gotta do shmoga one day. Shout out to my boy Tyler. You gotta do shmoga one day.
Okay.
Yeah.
That sounds interesting.
I'm gonna tag you. You gotta do shmoga one day.
Okay,
Open up every. Actually, I don't know. You don't consume, but it'll open up everything in you.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, so I like to travel and see different dispensaries in different cities. But just for leisure, like taking my mom. My parents are older now. Just taking them to different spots to see different things. I love doing that.
Oh, so you're a traveler. Where's the last place you've been?
Where's the last place I went to? Where did we go? Cancun, I think. Because, everything was shut down. And so Mexico was really the only place you could go to.
Took our parents to Cancun and we had a ball.
we had a ball, yeah.
I'm pretty sure. Don't show the camera roll. Look like Hangover. I was admiring the Asics. And I'm like, are Asics like the sponsor of medical everything? Like,
I love them.
Is that the first thing you get after you get the jacket? Is a pair of Asics?
Apparently. I've loved Asics since high school. I used to be a cheerleader, and that was like our cheerleading shoes.
I'm not hating. Actually, I like Asics. Asics to me are hard, boy.
You've seen other pharmacists in these shoes?
Yes.
What? Okay.
That or clogs.
I can't get with the clogs, but I'm definitely Asics.
I've never tried a pair of clogs on ever. I don't know how they fit on me, but I've never had a pair.
It doesn't look comfortable?
No, it doesn't. Who's a clog fan in here? Like, y'all wear clogs? Yes. Herb, you do wear clogs.
Crocs, yeah.
Clogs. I said clogs. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to give a bad representation to clogs. We meant Crocs.
A lot of people wear, especially in the medical field, in the hospitals and stuff, they wear them.
I forgot Herb wear Crocs. Herb got his bedazzled too. Like they're not just regular. Yeah, he got Wu-Tang on his Crocs, man. So that's crazy, man. That's crazy. So you had a lot of what's happening for you as we move forward?
So it's just really getting out the word about my services, what I provide, expanding. That's pretty much it. Yeah. Like I said, putting that pharmacist approval on cannabis. Yes, cannabis works.
You guys take more pictures like this with the jacket on and just like kind of staring into the camera. That makes you look more official. Yeah. You got to do more of those. Like whenever I see a doctor, he taking them serious. They like this.
Probably because we're so focused. People would call my name. And I say I don't have my pharmacist ears yet because we do so many things in a pharmacy during the day. And so people will say my name and I just won't hear them because I'm like this in the computer trying to make sure everything's perfect before I dispense a medication to a patient.
So are you so serious? Like, you ever walk in Kroger sometimes to see their pharmacy and just be like, yo, I just want to go help?
I do because I know what they're going through, and I'm like, I feel for y'all today.
Just want to tap them on the shoulder. Hey, I can help.
I can help if you need it.
I can help. I'm not that guy. Like, I can really help. Like, I'm not just here for pills.
Yeah.
That's another thing, too. How many times you get hit up just about regular pills? Like, do people try to get those out of you?
I don't know why they think we have pills at the house. I do not have pills at the house. They're at the pharmacy.
It's not the brightest. We're not the brightest group of people out here right now, man. Like if you hear the word pharmacist.
If you have a question about the pill, I can help you, but I don't have a stash of pills.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, we gotta say that out loud so if nobody's watching this show and just assumes I'm gonna hit her up and get some Ritalin or something. Like shit. Yeah, perk 30. Gotta get a perk 30. Perk 10. Gotta get a perk 10.
Oh goodness. Yeah, definitely no pills in the closet.
No pills in the closet, as you heard, man. Cassandra, you've actually been an amazing guest. I was kind of nervous about this because when I talked
I was nervous too.
Oh, but I was more nervous than you were nervous. Trust me.
Okay.
Yeah, I
don't believe that.
No, I was more nervous because whenever you're talking to a medical professional, it can either get really straightforward and one-word answers or. How's this gonna go? But I already know since we was off air and we was talking about Love and Marriage Huntsville. I was like, oh, we can do this. We can do this.
Yeah, and it kind of warmed me up too, so I could be a better guest. I hope I was a good guest.
You was an amazing guest. You're actually still here. I still got another minute with you.
Okay.
You were an amazing guest. What I do want you to do is tell people how they actually can get in touch with you if they wanted to know about your services. And the services do not include getting prescriptions for pills. She doesn't have them on deck. She's not going to tap in with you. Just tell her how you can help with your services.
So if you wanted to schedule an appointment, you can definitely go on our website, www.chirprx.com. I'm available on all social media. Do not expect a quick turnaround because I'm not on there all day. But if you have a question, concerns, any type of information that you need from me, just hit me up on there and I'll try to direct you to the correct space. And also go on my website and subscribe to our newsletter. We put those out monthly and it just has tidbits about what's going on, things about the cannabis industry you may not be familiar with. So just go on and make your free account and you will get a free monthly newsletter.
Cassandray, thank you so much for coming on the show. I do appreciate you.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you everybody who's listening or watching. And remember, this episode is sponsored by Can2Go. Make sure that you go to the app on iOS and check out their website, try Can2Go, and use promo code CashColor10 for your first order and save $10 off on that order. We're out of here. CashColorCannabis, high level conversation. Yeah.